Hey guys, Movie Fan here to bring you my final interview with a Power Ranger fan. Now, I did put up a little voting booth for everybody to see what they wanted, if they wanted me to do just a personal interview with myself or a live stream. Well, it hit the 50 margin on both, so we're still undecided, so I guess it's just up to me. And I decided, I'll just do my own personal interview because it may seem crazy, but hey, I started with these questions. I might as well finish with them, right? So basically, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to stick with the questions and I will answer them. Okay, now I'm sure you already know the first one. Which season did I start with? Well, that's a no brainer there. I started with the original series itself, Mighty Morphin, which is without a doubt the best one of them all. I mean, sure, there's been a lot of great ones over the years, but that's the one that really started it all. That's when we had the best characters, the best cast, and definitely some of the most legendary Zords of all time. Granted, it had its ups and downs, but even now, there is still so many fans out there. There's even younger generations who are still watching this. So it's a great series, and I don't think there's really anything that's ever going to top it. I really don't. Okay, the next question. How many seasons have I seen? Well, truth be told, I have seen pretty much all the seasons. However, well, there are some that I've seen more than others because, well, obviously Mighty Morphin, definitely the best. Zeo, that was a great series. Turbo, that put me off for a long time. Although I will admit I do need to try to rewatch that because I have been told, and I have seen quite a few times in a few clips, that it did get better once they changed the writers and changed the cast at the halfway point. But there are some other shows that are great too. I loved Dino Thunder. I loved Ninja Storm. Space was a great season. Of course, it's no secret that when Lost Galaxy showed up, that put me off for a long time. I kept in touch with the series, but I didn't really commit myself to it. Like, for instance, Lightspeed Rescue, I didn't think too much of that, I'm sorry to say. Wild Force, it had its good points, especially the 10th anniversary episode, Forever Red. But, there were so many that I didn't really care too much about. But then again, you can't love everything, folks. And of course, SPD, I have been rewatching that, and that is a great season. One of these days, I might just do a review on that. And there are others, and there are some that, oh boy, they're bad, and there's some that are great. I know a lot of people wonder if I ever seen Super Sentai, and the answer is yes, I have actually. I have watched Super Sentai, and it has some real good stuff. The characters are good, and I do love watching this in action. But with all honesty, I do actually prefer Power Rangers over Super Sentai. Hey, what can I tell you? It's the show I grew up with. Yes, it's nostalgia talking, and yes, my bro Skystub says that it's better written, Super Sentai, that is. But, there are times that that's not always the case, because there's been plenty of times where Super Sentai takes a bit of a darker approach, and I'm not too fond of that. And sometimes they take a rather outlandish approach because, well, let's just say the Japanese do have a pretty unique sense of humor. Now, one question I know that I don't need to answer, but I'll do it anyway. Have I collected any of the merchandise? Well, as you can see, I got my Megazord collection there. I got some Power Rangers. Got a suitcase up there. I'm not kidding. In fact, I'm just gonna grab that anyway. Just grab this. You know, awesome. Isn't it? I've got, of course, the autograph pictures from my fan club kit, which I'm almost done in getting them re-autographed, except for Toy Train, because unfortunately that's never going to happen because she did pass away in 2001. And I'm almost done getting my T-shirt autographed. The duplicate of this. So yeah, I'm almost there, folks. And, well, basically, there's all kinds of stuff. My pride and joy would have to be the Dragon Dagger that was signed by Jason David Frank himself. Because, you know, I'll never forget when I met him. I've told you about this before, but meeting him, that was the highlight of my life right there. Because I never thought I would ever meet my favorite Power Ranger. Which brings us to the next question. Who's my favorite Power Ranger? Jason David Frank, of course, because what can I say? Even though it didn't start off with him, he really made that series popular. It was all of them, really, but when he entered the scene, he took the show to a higher level with his martial arts and, of course, the character of Tommy Oliver, and, of course, Green Ranger himself with the Dragon Zord. But it was really him that made it all happen. But if there was a bit, but you know what? I will definitely say that my favorite Power Ranger team would have to be the originals themselves. I mean, I love Austin St. John as Jason. I love Zach. I love Billy, Kimberly, and Trini. They're all great. They really are. They were the ones who really made the show what it was. Every one of them, with their awesome characters, their great personalities, and their awesome martial arts action. My next question, which is my favorite Zord? The Dragon Zord. Definitely the Dragon Zord. No doubt about that. As for my favorite episode, it would have to be Green with Evil. That'd be the big one there. However, I've always been a sucker for the Bloom of Doom episode, and I do love Monster of Global Proportions, where we, get to meet Tor the Shuttle Zord. Now, I know he is not regarded very well, but I love that battle. That was incredible. I just love that. Because, Tor was kind of an interesting design. And I love the mechanical sounding roar he was given compared to his Super Sentai counterpart. The episode Doomsday, that was a great two-part episode. And of course, Countdown to Destruction, that was a great way to finish off the Zordon era. It really was. And you can say what you will about this, but I've always been a sucker for the episode Trick or Treat, where they face the pumpkin wrapper. Now, what's my take on the movies? I think you already know the answer once again, and it's really quite simple. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie, number one, through and through. Turbo, no, definitely not. No, hell no. That is terrible. That is absolutely terrible. Except for the Megazord battle. That they did right. And the theme song. I do love that. But that's it. And as for Power Rangers 2017, well, I have talked about this several times, but I will not deny I took it with a grain of salt, which helped me to be a little more forgiving. I know, guys, it's hard to believe that here I'm being forgiving about this. But, when I went in, I did something that I think a lot of people didn't consider. I went in knowing that it was not going to be the same as what they did back in 1995, or the series for that matter. I knew it wasn't going to be the same. I think a lot of people did too, to be honest, but, the problem is we all have that tendency to think that, well, they're going to be similar, And I'll admit, I think I did consider that option too, since Saban was producing it. However, he really missed the mark on so many levels because once again, they should have had the original Rangers play their parents. That would have been a beautiful passing of the torch. Why they didn't do it is beyond me. Why they went underground so they could not be contacted by them, that's even more odd to me. They shouldn't have done that. That's the truth. But whatever. It's obvious it's never going to happen now, so alas, stupidity. And again, those Zords, they could have done so much better with them, but they didn't. Instead, they decided to go way off kilter, with a few exceptions, and it's not much. Either way, the first movie, definitely the best. What's my take on Once and Always? I thought it was great. I really did. I love what they did with it. I love the concept. I do think that it would have been so much better if Amy, Austin, and Jason were there. But at the same time, considering what happened with Austin, I get it. And of course, Jason, he decided to retire from Power Rangers. So, very well. And Amy, you know, she had her heart set on making that comic book. And at the same time, she did admit recently that, she had taken off her acting cap, as she put it. So that's part of the reason. But the main thing was she had her heart set on making that comic. And she had to make a choice. And I think she made the right one. I really do. Because let's think about this for a minute, folks. And nobody ever thought about this that I'm aware of. If Amy and Catherine Sutherland were together in this movie, don't you think it would be a little awkward? Now, I'm not saying that Amy Jo Johnson and Catherine Sutherland have a problem with each other. I'm not saying that at all. But consider the fact that story-wise, Tommy was with Kimberly, and then all of a sudden they're shoehorning Cat on us. Don't you think this would be a little awkward? Having them talk to each other, try to act like everything's okay, that they broke up and she moved in on him? I certainly would. I would just want to know how are they going to pull that one off? And I think this helped a lot because we avoided that issue that could have been. So I'm quite pleased with that part anyway. Which brings us to the next one. Tommy and Kim or Tommy and Kat? Now, you already know the answer, but I'm going to say it anyway. Tommy and Kim through and through. Because, once again, Tommy and Kimberly, there is chemistry. There is a real connection. You see love, respect, friendship in their eyes, and the way they're together. With Kat, all I really see is respect and friendship. That's the truth. They do not belong together. I'm sorry. And to every friend out there who is all for Tommy and Kat, I'm sorry. I just have to disagree with you on this. Because, again, there's real chemistry between Tommy and Kimberly. With Kat, no. They act more like friends rather than a couple. And that's the truth. Now, once again, I will admit, had this been written up differently, then I might be more open to it. I wouldn't necessarily bet on that, but I might be a little more open to the idea because if it was written up differently, that we didn't have that Dear John letter and have Kat just take over because Kimberly's gone, then maybe I'd be more open to it. If it was done in a better way, it's possible. But we'll never know because that's not what they did. They just shoehorned it all together. And once again, my bro Antony, he really said it best on that one. He suggested, why not have Kat and Jason get together? That would have been a cool idea, I think. I think that would have worked a lot better. But either way, Tommy and Kim, always. Now, here's the question that I've never covered, really. What has this had an impact on my life? Well, it taught me how to be with my friends because, when you watch them together, they're great friends. They do stuff together. Me, it taught me how to interact with friends. It taught me how to respect one another. And it definitely taught about teamwork. No doubt about that. Because with them, they're a team. And of course, the public service announcements, they taught me so much more about the right way and the wrong way to handle things. So, yeah. Now, what is it I love about this show so much? Well, everything, really. I love the cast. I love the crew. I love the characters. I love the costumes. I love the Zords. And even though the storylines do have their corny moments, I love that too. I love the way it went. Because, this show was a product of the 90s, and it continued all the way for over 30 years. There's not too many shows that could really do that sort of thing in this country. And this one really pulled it off. There are other great seasons out there, like SPD, for instance. But this one, it really set the stage. And, it will never change for me. Okay, now the worst season. Well, that one's a no-brainer. It would have to be Lost Galaxy because of that melodrama. And plus, I did not like a lot of the cast members, except for Magna Defender. He was awesome. And for the record, I still say the Yellow Ranger is overrated in that one. I am sorry. She's not bad looking. I'm not going to lie to that. She is good looking. But I'm sorry. There's way better than her. And of course, Lightspeed Rescue, I found that to be rather dull, I'm sorry to say. Operation Overdrive, oh boy. Yeah. Feels like a Michael Bay ripoff. Too many explosion machines going off here. Way too much. And I don't like it. As for Megaforce, that is pathetic. I am sorry. I will never forgive the Legend War. That was an insult. A complete insult. Once again, Saban blew it. He could have easily edited in the Power Rangers of the past and, of course, the Megazord battle. That could have been done. And he didn't do it. He just avoided the Megazord battle. And he just, mostly he just focused on the current Megaforce Rangers and just threw in a little bit of the Rangers of the past. That is not what we came here for. He really blew it with that one. He really blew it. And once again, Saban, a YouTuber outdid you. You ought to be bowing your head in shame, man. Now, as for the greatest season, for me, that would have to be Mighty Morphin again because, it's nostalgia talking. I'm not going to lie, it's nostalgia talking. But at the same time, it's everything I've said before. The cast and the characters, they're all great. Now, SPD, that was a real good season. I love that one. So, yeah, that follows up on a number 2. As for Dino Thunder and Ninja Storm, I call that an equal 2.5 because they're both great. Okay, now for the best mentor. For me, it would have to be Zordon. Definitely. He's iconic. And, he was like Yoda in a jar. He knew everything. He knew just what to do. I'll admit there were times he did send them into situations that they were probably not ready for. But I guess that just comes with experience, and that's what it comes down to, I guess. I don't know. But Zordon, he set the stage, and he is the most iconic of them all. Now, there is another great mentor, and that would have to be Tommy Oliver himself when he took over in Power Rangers Dino Thunder. He proved to be a great mentor to his students, and who, of course, were his Power Rangers. And SPD, Doggy Kruger, he is awesome. I love his design. How he looks like, basically like a jackal from another planet. I mean, he's dog-like, but yet he's got like reptilian-like skin. I love it. He is awesome. I love his voice. I love his character even, because he's kind, but he's stubborn. He's strict, but he is a good teacher as well. He teaches by example, and there are times he just sits back and lets them figure it out on their own in order to teach them a lesson. As for the worst mentor, it's Mentor G, without a doubt, because he doesn't really do anything. He doesn't really give him any guidance. Pretty much the whole time, he's just standing there, walking around with that bamboo stick. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't give advice. Sure, he said about unlocking the black box because he figured that would help, which it did. And yeah, he did kind of get Green Ranger in touch with his powers, but all he did was just take him to the forest and say, what does the forest mean to you? The rest of the time, he's just walking around with a bamboo stick. He's not doing anything. So, yeah. I mean, with all the other mentors out there, they lead. They tell him what they should do. They give him good advice and bad advice too. But the point is, they do something. He doesn't do anything. And for the record, for Samurai, he shouldn't be called mentor. He should be called sensei. But he's clearly not a teacher, so I guess it makes sense to call him mentor because he's not teaching him anything. So yeah, he's the worst. The best villain? Now we come to the best and the worst villains. The best would have to be Lord Zed, Rita Repulsa. King Mondo I found to be an interesting villain. And I'm going to throw in Ivan Ooze because I loved Ivan Ooze. He was awesome. Even though it was just the movie, I still love it. And I got to throw in Sir Raider from Power Rangers Samurai. He was one bad villain. He was bad news at all. I mean, this guy was tough. He should have been the one in charge, if you ask me. And of course, I can never forget Goldar. You cannot forget Goldar. He is too legendary. Granted, by season 2 and 3, he became a comedy relief character, but he was still great even then. The worst villain? I would have to say Master Xandred, because he's not much of a villain. He's just more talk than action. Granted, the idea was they don't find him until the end because he's locked down there, but I didn't see what the big deal was with him. Sorry. And as for the villain from Megaforce, that guy was a joke. He was such a whiny baby. And speaking of which, I'm going to say number 0, Divatox. Whine, 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 whine. Now, I know everyone's complained about what happened to Lord Zed and Rita, how because of those soccer moms complaining about Lord Zed being scary in that, basically they turned him into Lucy and Ricky Ricardo. I know people complain about that, but they did make it work. As for Divatox, it's like she's I Love Lucy on the strictly whiny scale, and it gets really annoying. Look, there's no denying with Lucy, she did do that on the show a bit, but she did that when it was needed. She did not just do that willy-nilly. Are the comic books canon? Once again, I say, no, they are not canon. There are exceptions, mind you, like, for instance, Zordon of Eltar, because, we don't know about his past. So that's different. Because, all we know about him is he is an interdimensional being caught in a time warp. So the comic books for that, I call that an exception. But the rest of them, no, they're not. I'm sorry. But Soul of the Dragon, I don't call that canon. And some of the other ones, no, I don't. They are cool, but no, I don't consider them canon. The Omega Rangers, I love the idea. It makes better sense than what we got out of the show, and I wish that could have been. But let's get real, folks. That's not what happened. Okay, and now we come to the final question, and that would be with Power Rangers coming anew, with Hasbro and possibly Paramount and all that, there's a lot of talk going around about a possible reboot movie and a new series and all that. What am I hoping for? Well, I hope that they do not try to reboot the series. I'm not going to lie here. I'm not really for the idea. Because, one, I'm sick and tired of reboots. I hate reboots. They're ridiculous. It's just a lack of imagination to me. And at the same time, let's not forget, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was a product of the 90s. And to try to recapture that is impossible. And that's the truth. On top of that, I don't see why we can't try to come up with something more original, something new, something that's not just redoing Mighty Morphin. Because I'm sorry, folks, you got a cast that is too legendary to try to overlook. Now, if they do go forward with that, I wish the new cast members a lot of luck. Because you know what? They got a lot to live up to. Because the original cast, they really made the show. It's no lie. And when Rocky, Adam, and Aisha made the scene, they made the show too. But the fact is, any newbies that try to replace them like that, I wish you luck because, once again, you guys got a lot to live up to. As for a new movie, well, I would like the idea because after 2017, we definitely need a restart here because that is not what most of us were hoping for. And, there is one thing I got to bring up. What I would like to see, once again, I would love to see an original series, not just a reboot of Mighty Morphin. I want to see them try to take up with Power Rangers SPA. Because think about it, in Once and Always, they left that door wide open for SPA to make the scene. For those of you who don't know, SPA was supposed to be the predecessor to Power Rangers SPD. And in Once and Always, they had Adam and Aisha wearing, SPA uniforms, well, something like it anyway, with badges. Why not go with that concept? I mean, they literally had that door wide open. They could easily have Adam and Aisha be mentors to this new team of Power Rangers. In fact, they could be the creators of SPA. It's a great idea. They should take that ball and they should go with it. Because here we'll have something new, something fresh, something that is all American because the Japanese never created this. This would be all us. And that would be awesome. I think a lot of people would like it if they did that. And as for the old story about what could be, I know a lot of people are wanting it to be a little more darker or at least a little more grown up, in the words of my friend DHR. And you know what? Maybe it is time for Power Rangers to grow up. Just a little. Now, by that, what I mean is at least have it be PG-13. I would not go for rated R because in this day and age, rated R means throwing a whole bunch of sex scenes, see brains splattered all over the walls, see throats getting cut and all that. And I'm sorry, no. Maybe someday we'll be ready for that concept, but no, not now. I mean, just because you have the ability doesn't mean you should. And I'm sorry, I'm getting sick and tired of everyone turning a classic kids show into a horror flick. And don't tell me you don't know what I'm talking about, people. We're seeing this happen a lot right now with classic Disney movies just because. And I'm sorry, we don't need this. We really don't. And need I remind you about Power Dash Rangers? How that was all just them shooting off machine guns and getting brains splattered all over the wall? That wasn't much of a show. That wasn't much of a special at all. I mean, that wasn't much of anything. And that's the truth. It was disturbing. It was disgusting. It has some cool points like Zack's fight scene in Korea, but big whoop, that's all it had going for it. The rest of it was nothing. I don't mind it being a little dark, but I don't want it to turn into a rated R movie where you have a whole bunch of stuff that we don't need. And to be honest, I would like it if they tried to get in touch with Toei Productions again and, try to bring back some of that Super Sentai footage. Because let's not forget, that's what got us here, was that Super Sentai footage. But, why not have both? Why not have a kid-friendly version that has that Super Sentai and have that more grown-up version that, doesn't have that? Because, I don't see why we can't have both. I mean, there's a lot of shows that have been kid-friendly and more adult-oriented at the same time. So, why not do that? Besides, I might make more money out of it. Who knows? And that, my friends, is my final interview. It's not much, but hey, I had to go with something. So, for everybody who I did an interview with, I want to thank you all for joining me on this journey. And it was great hearing all your opinions, all your stories as to what you loved about the series and what episodes you loved, what shows you loved. Thanks for being a part of it. This is Movie Fan, signing off.